recite this dua. And then he taught her the dua. Allahumma anta hasanta khalki wa hassin khuluki. Oh Allah, you have made my appearance very beautiful. Make my ikhlaq also very beautiful. So see, the Prophet ﷺ taught that this is also a sin, admiring oneself, right? And some young boys are always admiring themselves in front of the mirror. In any case, okay, what else? Anger, right? Anger can be both actually. Anger is an outward sin, and anger is also an inward sin.
That's not frustration.
Yeah.
That's inside.
Inside is frustration, and when you speak it out from your tongue, then this is again an act of anger. What else? Anything else? Greed. Again, right? So greed is something also that you cannot see. If you have this desire, then okay, I am going to, somehow or the other gain a lot of things of these worlds, or I'm going to gather a lot of things of the world. Now this desire of gathering all of these things of the world and let them coming, this is not something others can see. It is hidden inside of your heart, and others can't see this. And the Prophet ﷺ has said that the greedy person is such that if he has been given a mountain full of gold, it would still not suffice him. He would want that I get another mountain full of gold. So this is what you call greed. So whatever you need, you already have that, and you have even more, but you still want more. This is what you call greed. And sometimes greed leads to some bad decisions that you make in your house. So now it is clear what is zahiri, what is the outward sin and what is the inward sin. The Prophet ﷺ said fearing Allah the way Allah should be feared is three things, and the first one was following the commands of Allah outwardly and inwardly. What was the second thing the Prophet ﷺ? Trying to remember Allah all the time. So the one who fears Allah the way he should have been feared is going to remember Allah. जी आगे आ जाएं, मिनहास इधर जगह है. So the second thing is remembering Allah all the time, and the one who fears Allah is going to remember Allah. Allah is going to be in his mind, in the back of his mind at least, right? So he's not going to commit sins when he knows that Allah is looking at me and Allah is there, so he will remember Allah. The third thing that the Prophet ﷺ has said is the definition of fearing Allah the way he should be feared. Thanking Allah for the favors Allah has given you. We said one thing about thanking Allah, that if somebody has the habit of thanking Allah all the time, even in adverse situations, he will get the first two things as well. And what are those first two things? One is following the commands of Allah outwardly, inwardly, and the second thing was remembering Allah. So the one who thanks Allah, Allah Ta'ala gives him the benefit, or Allah Ta'ala bestows on him the first two things as well. So this is a beautiful thing, that you thank Allah and then you become a person who's beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this was the definition of the last class. We've still not started our new class now. All of you might be thinking that we are in the middle of the class. Minas is very happy. When I came in, Minas is this man sitting right here. He's like, I came late, but the class is still not started yet, huh? So he's happy. So now we start today's class. Alhamdulillah wa kafa. Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد مبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد مبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد مبارك وسلم. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. This is one of the more popular ayahs of the Quran. A lot of people recite this ayah, especially when two people are fighting. This is what they recite. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Okay, what does it mean? Allah Ta'ala says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ, and hold on to the rope of Allah. Jami'an, all of you together. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and do not be divided. Right? So this is again, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Don't become firqas. Don't become divided. So the one who divides himself and who tries to create divisions among the Muslims is committing a very big sin. He's going against the orders, the commands of Allah, which are there in the Quran. So this is a very serious situation for all the Muslims, that Allah has asked us not to be divided, and the reality is that we are all very divided. So there's divisions. इधर आ सकते हैं, यहाँ थोड़ी सी जगह है. So there's divisions, and there's divisions in many categories. So there are divisions of Muslims geographically, right? So you have Muslims in Africa, and that Muslim is different from the Muslim in subcontinent. So there's a geographical division. That division is still not that bad. There's no hatred, in that division. Then there is a division of the nations, right? You have the Pakistani Muslim, you have the Afghani Muslim, you have the Indian Muslim, and you have a Muslim in Indonesia, then you have Muslims in Egypt, you have Muslims in Algeria, you have Muslims in Nigeria. Now there's millions of Muslims in the US, and hundreds of thousands of Muslims in Europe and Australia. So there's again a division here. Again, this division also does not still mean that there's any sort of hatred. So this division is also there. It's not that bad. Then there's a third type of division, and that division is the division of fiqh, right? And we all know, we must have heard all through our lives, that there are 4 different schools of jurisprudence, right? And the one is Hanafi, the other one is Shafi'i and Maliki and Hanbali. So this is the division. This division is also not that bad, because all of the scholars of all 4 schools think that all 4 of them are right. This division actually came into being. Why? Because there are some things in the Quran and Hadith that the order from the Quran and Hadith is difficult to extract. For example, the Prophet ﷺ said that after you recite Surah Fatiha in Salat, you should recite the Ameen. Now, the Prophet ﷺ asked us to recite Ameen. Now, some people recite it loudly, and some people recite it silently. So which course are we supposed to take? Now, the scholars they went and they looked up the books, and they saw that there were ahadith favoring Ameen loudly. Then there are ahadith regarding the companions who've said it silently. So now different scholars took different positions. Some said that, okay, these are the ahadith which are stronger, so I go with these ahadith. And some said that these ahadith are stronger, so I go with this hadith. So now this is again not a very big difference. Why? Because all of this is within the Quran and Hadith. Nothing is outside of Quran and Hadith. And the scholars who came up with all these 4 schools, they respect each other. In some cases, there are the students of each other. So Imam Shafi'i was a student of Imam Malik rahimahullah. And Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was a student of Imam Shafi'i. And Imam Abu Hanifa's student was Imam Muhammad. Imam Shafi'i was the student of Imam Muhammad rahimahullah. So again, this is also not a very big difference. There's no hatred here. They all respect each other. Sometimes we feel, oh, what is he doing? He's saying out Ameen loudly. So there's nothing wrong with it. He's doing something which is there in the hadith, and we who do not say it out loudly, again, we are also doing something which is there present in the hadith. So again, it's not a big problem. Then there is another big problem, and that big problem has actually divided countries. And this is the Shia and Sunni differences, right? And this is a very huge difference, and it has been there for many, many, many hundred years, right? And then the fifth one is, again, within these two sects, the Shias and the Sunnis, there are further sections. And among the Shias, there are again many sects, out of which some of them are mentioned here. The Agha Khanis, they are also a sect from the Shias. The Bohris are a sect of the Shias. The Ismailis are again the sects which has also come out from the Shia part of Islam, right? And then we move on to the Sunnis. And what happens in the Sunnis? The two main sects in the Sunnis in our country is the Barelvi sect and the Deobandi sect. And then you have the Ahl Hadith. Can we move on to the next page, please? Okay. So again, the four mazahib are also there, and then the Ahl Hadith among the Sunnis. And among the Sunnis, among the four mazahib, one of them are Hanafis, and the Deobandis and Barelvi difference is a sect within the Hanafis. So all Barelvis are Hanafis, all Deobandis are also Hanafis. Again, this is a sect. So now there's a lot of division. And for somebody who's very new to Islam and just has come to a Quran class for like a week now, is going to say, what? I am part of this Islam which is divided into
so many sects.
Many sects. But this is the reality of today. It is a very sad reality. So if it is a sad reality, none of the scholars have done anything about it. Well, the scholars throughout the Islamic centuries have tried to gather the Muslims together. Even today, many scholars, they talk about the Ummah, they talk about not creating divisions, they talk about brotherhood, they talk about loving each other, and it has gone on. The way division has gone on for hundreds of years, in the same way the scholars trying to unite the Ummah has been going on for hundreds of years. So this is again a situation, but on political level, some things have been done, right? So there was this OIC that was formed, which is joining all the Islamic countries on one platform. So it is a very good attempt that the leaders of the Muslim countries made. Then different scholars have done many attempts to unite the Muslims. And a lot of scholars, especially this happens in Western countries, in Europe and the US, because all the different nations and all the different sects are there. So in Pakistan, you will only have Hanafis generally, right? There will not be any, generally, there won't be any Shafi'is, there won't be Hanbalis. So this, you won't see a Hanbali in Pakistan. A Maliki, it's impossible to see a Maliki in Pakistan, right? It will be very, very difficult to see a person who belongs to Nigerian Muslim in Pakistan. Maybe in some madrasa, I have seen some Nigerians studying in some madrasa, but generally you won't see them in Pakistan. But when you go to the US, or when you go to Europe, and when you go to Australia, people from all countries, all backgrounds, all types of Muslims are there. So then the leaders there, they try to unite the Muslims. And it is very good attempts that some of them have made actually. So some of them have made very good attempts at uniting the Muslims, and it has been going on. Now, why are these attempts not so fruitful? ये बड़ी जबरदस्त बात कि कोई दुल्हन तो नहीं होता. Okay. So now, एक दूसरे को पहले जानते हैं?
नहीं.
यानी पहली मर्तबा मिलते हुए आपने उनको कह दिया तुम दुल्हन नहीं हो?
पहली दुल्हन है.
अच्छा.
दूल्हा
पहले तैयार. अच्छा ठीक है. ये सारा लाइव जा रहा है बच्चा, बाय द वे. अच्छा जी. So now, all these attempts that scholars, political leaders, people make. People are, people at masjid levels, people at, country level, people at city level, they try to unite Muslims. And in the West also they try to do it. But generally, Muslims are not one. They're divided. In some ways they are one, right? Why? Because all of them follow that one Quran. And all of them follow that one messenger. So somehow or the others, the heart do beat together, right? And you see examples when these hearts are beating together. You see it at different times, right? When there is somebody who goes against Islam and speaks against Islam, all Muslims are united in these things. So you see a unity somewhere or the other. But the unity is not there the way we would want the unity to be. Why does this happen? And why is it happening? And the answer lies in this hadith. And this is again a very famous hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said that Bani Israel had 72 sects, and we will have, my ummah is going to have 73 sects. So the Prophet ﷺ has given the prophecy of this division among the Muslims. जी मिज़ियाल वहीं कहीं बैठ जाएं, बाकी जगह नहीं है, ठीक है ना? बस 1-2 महीने में we'll move to a bigger place, then we'll have space for everybody, inshallah. Okay. So my ummah is going to have 70. So one of the answers to this question is why so many attempts have been made to unite them. How come we are not united still? Right? And the answer lies in the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? That it is going to be very difficult to unite. Although there have been some very beautiful attempts, and although there is some unity, everybody finds it, right? And that is why some of the non-Muslims or people who have misconceptions about Islam, they dislike this. Then why a Muslim in subcontinent is favoring a Muslim living in Africa? What do you have to do with that person? The reason is all of our hearts still they beat together, because in the end we are all followers of that one Quran, of that one messenger. We all face the Qibla, we all go for Hajj together, we all do these things together. So there is unity that cannot be broken in some ways or the other. So there's unity. But the unity that we would ideally want is not there. Now, having said this, so should we just accept it? That okay, if the Prophet ﷺ has said, but it does not mean that the Prophet ﷺ liked us to be divided. He still wanted that we should be together. That is why the Prophet ﷺ has said this, that Allah's hand is on the jama'ah, that you should be together. You should not be divided. Nobody should leave the Jamaat. You should all be in one Jamaat, because Allah's hand is on the Jamaat. In other words, Allah's mercy is on the Jamaat. The more you are, the more together you are, the more undivided you are, the more Allah's mercy is going to descend on you. Then in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ has said, before we move on to these disadvantages, that the Prophet ﷺ has said that there is barakah in jama'ah. So there's blessings in jama'ah. And in one hadith, there's a very strong words that the Prophet ﷺ has used, that if you are part of the jama'ah, don't distance yourself from the jama'ah. The one who's going to distance himself from the main Muslim body is going to go into the hellfire. So there's a very strong, words for people who are creating divisions or who divide themselves from other Muslims. So all these things tell us that it is a duty upon us, all of us, that we should continue to unite the Muslims, no matter how and no matter which era of humanity we're living in. We should still, try to unite the Muslims however way we can. Now, what are the disadvantages of not being together? What are the disadvantages of these divisions? And the first thing is that if you are divided, then what happens? If a certain section of Muslims are being oppressed, nothing is done for them, right? And the three examples, one is the example of Burma, right? And the non-Muslims, they were killing them, they were raping them, and they were blowing their houses in flames. Nobody could have done anything, because we were not together. A few Muslim countries would do something, Turkey did something, and then, Saudi Arab did something. They said, okay, we'll invite all these Burmese who come to Saudi, we'll give them visas, we'll give them places to stay. So some people did individually. But had we been the whole ummah, nobody would have had the, people would have thought that these are 1.3 Muslims together in one state, one nation. And these 1.3 billion would have owned these people of Burma. Then nobody would have had dared to do what they did to these people of Burma, right? So in the same way, what is going on in Kashmir? These people of Kashmir, they don't even have Indian Muslims on their side. So this is what division does. And again, what is happening in Palestine is an example of what happens when you are divided, right? Sometimes some Muslim nations, because of their vested interest, they would not support you or whatever it is. Then again, the other thing is the economic advantage is also lost. If you are an economy of 1.3 billion, right, then everybody wants to make friends with you. So those economies which are very big and they're all together, they're one, all nations of the world, they want to be friends with you. Because you're a very big market, you have an economic advantage. So that is why the modern world has found that it is better to be together rather than being divided. So they formed the European Union. All of Europe is now almost like one country, right? And in the same way there's NAFTA. NAFTA is North American Free Trade Agreement. So in North America, the three main countries, Mexico, the United States and Canada, there's a free trade agreement between these three countries. So they can buy and sell, and they can even move around. So if you have a Canadian passport, you can go to the US, and if you have a US passport, you can go to Canada without any visas. So they found that being together is beneficial and being separate is non-beneficial. And we've been told by our messenger that you should be together. The hand of Allah is on the Jamaat, but we are divided. So this is what the situation of this ummah is. There's a hadith that has to be mentioned here. When we're talking about the disadvantages, and that hadith is that the Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba that when you will be close to the Day of Judgment, the Muslims will be in such a situation that the kafirs, the unbelievers, will destroy them in such a way that when the food is being destroyed on the food mat, and when people are hungry, they eat as if they can just do whatever they want, right? There's no response from the food. They don't eat me, right? So that this is how the Muslims will be butchered and destroyed, the way you eat food. So the companions, they asked this question, "Oh Messenger of Allah, will we be in lesser numbers at that time?" The Messenger ﷺ said, "No, you will not be less in numbers. Your numbers will be very high. But two things will lead to this situation. One is the love of the world, and the second thing is forgetting your death. This is going to make you lead to this situation where you will be, destroyed and humiliated by the non-believers." So now, the question is, what has to be done? And the first thing first, rather than joining all the Muslims of the world, first you have to accept in your heart that all these Muslims are my brothers, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that all Muslims are like brothers. The Prophet ﷺ said that all Muslims are like a body. If one part of the body feels, pain, the pain is felt around the whole body. The whole body is not in the right situation, is not in the right mood. So this is what should happen. So first thing first, the first thing is in our own hearts we should accept that a Muslim, if he's living in Nigeria, if he's living in Malaysia, even if he's living wherever he's living, that Muslim is my brother. First of all, you have to accept this. And we don't, We don't even accept this, right? We say that if a Muslim is a Mayman, then he's my brother, right? A non-Mayman Muslim is not my brother. I'm saying this because I am Mayman. Other communities I don't want to mention. So Mayman Muslim is who I like. And non-Mayman, अच्छे नहीं होते हैं. So if this is our attitude, then how are we going to be one, right? Or if somebody says, okay, we Sindhis, we are the best Muslims, and all of the Muslims are just, they're not Muslims. So if this is our attitude, then, nothing could be done. The Prophet ﷺ, the group of companion was a very diverse group. You had Suhaib al-Rumi, right? And Suhaib al-Rumi came from Rome, European Sahabi. Then you had Salman al-Farsi, and Salman came from Faras, right? Then you had the Mushrikeen from Makkah who converted to Islam. Then you had, the Jews of Medina Munawwara. Then you have Christians. Then you had people from Africa, right? Bilal Raziallahu anhu came from Abyssinia. So it was a very, very diverse group of companions. But the Prophet ﷺ ingrained this thing in them, that they all behaved like real brothers. And today, our situation is, our real brother is not a real brother. So this is what the situation is. So first of all, in our hearts we have to accept that all Muslims are my brothers. Then we can take the next step and change the world. Now everybody's talking about changing the Muslim world. Well, you have to change whatever's inside of your heart first. You have to be, first of all, truly accepting to the fact that all Muslims are my brothers. Then you can move on to the next step, right? And you can see the example of the companions. They were really like brothers. So in the battlefield once, the Muslims were fighting against the non-Muslims, and it was a very, very hot day. And one of the companions saw another companion lying on the ground with a lot of blood coming out, and it seemed as if he's about to die. So this companion, when he saw this other glasses, there were a bowl of water. So he took a bowl of water and he ran towards him. And he Hajirin who came from Makkah in such a way that sometimes they would give half of their property. Sometimes they would give half of their businesses. There were some Sahabis who had 2 wives. They divorced one of their wives so that this Sahabi who came from Makkah, he can marry one of my wives. So this is the example of brotherhood. First we have to accept in our own hearts that we are brothers with each and every Muslim, right? Abdurrahman ibn Auf, one of the richest man in Makkatul Mukarramah, and he had a lot of wealth. And he did not travel because he was trying to gather all of his wealth. He talked to the kuffar of Makkah. They said, well, we will not let you take a single penny from here. If you want to go, it's up to you. Now, he was a very rich man, a lot of properties, and a lot of businesses, a lot of cash, and a lot of gold, and this and that. And they said, you cannot take any of this. But out of this love of the messenger, he could not live in Makkah. He left all of it. The richest man in Makkah. He left all of it, and he went to Medina Munawwara to unite himself with the messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he saw him that he has nothing. So the richest man in Makkah became the poorest man of Madinatul Munawwara. And the messenger asked one of the Sahabis from Medina that you take him to your house and he's your brother now. And you feed him and you give him a place to stay and all of that. So this Sahabi, the Medina Sahabi, he took Abdurrahman ibn Auf Raziallahu anhu to his house. So when they went, he heard the story. And he was shocked that this man was the richest man in Makkah. And only because of the love of the messenger, he traveled and he left all of his wealth. So he felt very sympathetic towards Abdurrahman ibn Auf. He said, you can have whatever you want from my wealth. And whatever you ask me, I am going to help you. Don't worry at all. You are my brother and you are more than what my actual brother is. So then this Abdurrahman ibn Auf said, no, I don't want any of your wealth. I was a businessman in Makkah and I'm going to start a business in Medina Munawwara. Just show me where the marketplace is. So the next day, this companion, he took Abdurrahman ibn Auf to the market, and Abdurrahman ibn Auf started doing business on a very small scale. You know those ropes that you tie the animals with? He bought a few ropes and he sold a few ropes. And Allah gave barakah in that business. In some weeks that business grew, and he started buying other things. He started buying saddles. You know saddles, those things you keep on the horse and on the camel to sit. So he bought those things. Then he started doing businesses in, the business grew further. So he started buying goats and sheep. Then his business expanded further. So he bought, cows and, buffaloes, and not buffaloes, but cows. And then finally he bought camels. Now, if you're a camel trader, you're a very rich man at that time. Camel trader is like, a person who sells trucks, right? So if you're a truck dealer, you're a very rich man. So he became a very rich person. And then he started dealing in gold and silver. And he became such a rich man that finally the richest man of Makkah became the richest man in Madinatul Munawwarah. And then finally what happened was, when he died, his inheritance that he left was more than inheritance in gold. Other things aside, just his gold inheritance was 14,000 tons. So he left 14,000 tons of gold as his inheritance. And 14,000 tons of gold is equal to how many dollars? More than $600 billion.
But Maiman people know much better.
Maiman people would know much better, right? More than $600 billion. That is 7 times richer than the richest man now, right? So the person, Jeff Bezos, I heard, he became the richest man after a very, for 8-10 years, Microsoft, who's Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates was the richest man. Now last year...
It's absolutely wrong.
It's absolutely wrong?
It's always Talal from Saudi Arabia.
It's always Talal from... We are Muslims. We think only a Muslim can be the richest man in the world.
Even if they are on the media side, but we have to follow Saudis.
In any case, but the thing is...
Saudi.
But the reality is, if the richest man is worth, 50 billion or 80 billion, so Abdurrahman ibn Auf was $600 billion even at that time. So that means that the Muslims at that time were really brothers. So if you want to hold on to the rope of Allah and become brothers, first you will have to actually explain to your own heart that yes, all Muslims around the world are my brothers. I should feel for them and I should make dua for them the way I make dua for my own brothers. That's when it's going to start. And it is our duty that we have to make them feel, and we have to feel ourselves that all Muslims are together. And one last thing that this ayah also mentions, that this feeling of brotherhood is a favor of Allah. When you have brothers, when you have friends, when you have people you can say they are your own, this is the biggest mercy of Allah. And I will tell you this, there was a research done by some very big research house in the US. And they did research on when people are old, what do they want the most? What is it that they want the most? And what is the best decision that they have made? And the answer was, and they questioned, I think, thousands of old people. They said the happiest old person is the one who has made relations with people. The one who has lasting relations with the people, that is the person who is going to be happy in his old age. The one who has no brotherhood with anyone, he's going to be, even if he is a billionaire or millionaire, he's going to be the saddest person when he's going to be old. So these relationships and these brotherly relations that we have and these friends that we have, this is a mercy of Allah. And we should actually, even if we have to give up things that we don't want to give up, just to maintain our relations, even if we have to give up things, it is better to give up things and have these relationships and have this brotherhood. Allah Ta'ala says, وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ, that you remember the favors of Allah onto you, is kuntum a'da'an, that you were enemies, right? فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ, and Allah brought your hearts together. فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا, so that you became brothers through Allah's blessings. وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا حُفْرَةٍ مِّنَ النَّارِ. So we will stop here. This ayah is one of the longer ayahs. This part of the ayah, inshallah, we will do in the next class. I will stop here and I'll do the translation up till what we have recited, and then we'll do the last part of this ayah in the next class. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا, and you should hold on to the rope of Allah together. ولا تفرقوا, and you should not be divided. واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم, and remember the blessings of Allah upon you. Is kuntum a'da'an, when you were enemies to each other. فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ, then Allah put love between, Allah brought your hearts together. فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا, so that you became brothers through the blessings of Allah, through His blessings. We will stop here and we'll do the next part of the ayah inshallah in the next class. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wastaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Namaz ki tayari kar rahe hain. Just for the people who are new to this class,